My name is Claire, and I'm about to tell you the worst thing I've ever done. I married my best friend's fiancé. Not after they broke up. Not years later. 2 months after she died. Her name was Sophie, and she was the best person I knew. This is the story of how grief, guilt, and forbidden love destroyed and rebuilt me. This is I married my best friend's fiancé. Here's what happened next. Claire met Ethan the day Sophie brought him home. 5 years ago, glowing with new love, Sophie had said, "This is him. This is the one." And Claire's heart had broken quietly, completely, in that first moment of shaking his hand. She never told anyone. How could she? Sophie was her person. 20 years of friendship, shared secrets, unconditional love. You don't betray that by admitting you're in love with her fiancé. So Claire buried it deep, smiled through engagement parties, helped plan the wedding, played the perfect supportive best friend. Every interaction with Ethan was torture and treasure. Group dinners where she memorized how he laughed. Wedding planning sessions where their hands accidentally touched. She became an expert at loving him from exactly the right distance, close enough to be in his life, far enough to hide the truth. Sophie never suspected. Why would she? Claire was her maid of honor, her confidant, the friend who listened to every wedding detail with genuine enthusiasm that masked devastating jealousy. Ethan never suspected either. He saw her as Sophie's best friend. Safe, platonic, irrelevant romantically. Claire told herself she'd get over it. After the wedding, she'd create distance, meet someone else, move on. She just had to survive 8 more weeks until Sophie and Ethan married. Then she could finally let go. But Sophie never made it to the wedding. The call came at 11 p.m. Sophie's mother, hysterical. "There's been an accident. Get to St. Mary's Hospital. Now." Claire arrived to find Ethan in the waiting room, statue still, eyes empty. "She didn't make it," he said flatly. "Drunk driver. She died instantly. Sophie's gone." The words didn't compute. Sophie vibrant, alive, 8 weeks from her wedding. Couldn't be gone. But the doctor confirmed it. Sophie was dead at 28, and the world tilted permanently off its axis. Claire held Ethan while he shattered. Held him through the identification of the body, the calls to family, the impossible logistics of death. They stayed at the hospital until dawn, 2 people drowning in the same grief, clinging to each other because there was no one else who understood the specific shape of this loss. In the following days, Claire moved through Sophie's funeral like a ghost. She delivered the eulogy because Ethan couldn't speak. Held Sophie's mother while she wailed. Packed up wedding decorations that would never be used. And every night, she sat with Ethan in his apartment, Sophie's apartment, and they grieved together. Something shifted between them. Grief created intimacy. Shared loss became shared everything. They were the only 2 people who knew Sophie's specific laugh, her terrible singing, her exact brand of joy. Remembering her together kept her alive. And beneath the grief, something else grew. Something neither would name. Something that felt like betrayal even in its silence. 6 weeks after Sophie's death, Claire and Ethan existed in a bubble of shared mourning. She came over every evening. They'd talk about Sophie for hours, keeping her alive through memory. But gradually, conversation shifted. They talked about themselves, their dreams, their fears, each other. "I don't know how to exist without her," Ethan admitted one night, head in his hands. "Me neither," Claire whispered. But what she didn't say, "I've loved you the entire time I loved her. And now she's gone, and I hate myself for noticing you're available." The first almost kiss happened on a Tuesday. They were looking through Sophie's photos, laughing through tears at a particularly ridiculous one. Their faces were close. Ethan's eyes dropped to Claire's lips. She saw him realize what he was doing and pull back, horrified. "I'm sorry," he said. "That was grief," Claire finished quickly. "Just grief. It's normal. We're processing trauma." But it wasn't just grief. They both knew it. The guilt was immediate and crushing. How could they think about each other that way when Sophie was barely cold in the ground? What kind of monsters were they? They established boundaries. No more late nights alone. No physical contact beyond friendly hugs. Talk about Sophie constantly to remind themselves why this couldn't happen. But boundaries are theoretical. Emotions aren't. The truth. They were falling in love. And it felt like killing Sophie all over again. It happened 8 weeks after Sophie's funeral. Ethan called Claire late, voice broken. "I can't be here. Her things are everywhere. I'm drowning." Claire came over. Found him surrounded by Sophie's belongings he couldn't bring himself to pack. She helped him fold clothes, box up photos, dismantle the life Sophie had built. And in the grief and exhaustion, when they both collapsed on the couch, the kiss happened. It was desperate, wrong, necessary. They pulled apart horrified, but crashed together again. Like releasing a pressure valve 8 weeks sealed. They kissed like drowning people gasping for air. Like the grief could be transferred through touch. Like they could bring Sophie back by betraying her memory together. "We can't," Claire gasped, but didn't stop. "I know," Ethan said, hands in her hair. "God, I know. But I can't stop thinking about you." "I've loved you for 5 years," Claire confessed, the secret finally escaping. "Since the day Sophie introduced us. I'm the worst person alive." "No," Ethan said, cupping her face. "I am. Because I'm in love with you, and she's barely been gone 2 months. What does that make me?" They stood at the precipice of the ultimate betrayal, choosing each other in the ruins of Sophie's death. And they jumped. Because grief makes people reckless, because connection felt like survival, because sometimes the worst thing you can do is the only thing that feels real. They didn't make love that night, but they crossed every other line, and woke up the next morning tangled together, devastated by what they'd become. The first time they made love was 3 months after Sophie's death. Neither planned it. Ethan had finally packed Sophie's clothes, and the finality broke them both. Claire came to comfort him, and comfort became kissing, became undressing, became the point of no return. "Tell me to stop," Ethan whispered against her skin. "Tell me we're terrible people and this has to end." "We are terrible people," Claire said, pulling him closer. "But I can't stop." It was devastating and beautiful. They cried during it, for Sophie, for themselves, for the impossibility of their situation. Every touch felt like betrayal. Every moment of pleasure came with crushing guilt. But they couldn't stop because this, together, was the only thing that made the grief bearable. Afterward, lying tangled in sheets, Ethan said, "I loved her. I loved Sophie so much. How can I be here with you?" "I loved her too," Claire whispered. "She was my everything. And I'm betraying her in the worst possible way." She turned to face him. "But Ethan, I love you. I've always loved you. And I hate myself for it." "I love you too," Ethan admitted. "And that makes us monsters." They established a secret relationship, hidden from everyone, especially Sophie's family. Meeting in private, drowning in guilt, building love on the ruins of Sophie's death. It felt inevitable and unforgivable simultaneously. They were two people destroyed by loss who found each other in the wreckage and called it love. 6 months after Sophie's death, Ethan proposed. Not romantically, more like a confession. "I can't keep hiding this. Claire, I love you. I know it's wrong. I know everyone will hate us. But I want you, officially. Will you marry me?" Claire said yes, knowing it would destroy their remaining relationships. And it did. Sophie's mother screamed at them, called Claire a snake who'd waited for her daughter to die. Friends sided with Sophie's memory, cutting them off completely. Social media crucified them. People who didn't know the full story labeled them villains. The wedding was at a courthouse, no guests, no celebration, no white dress. Just two guilty people legally binding their betrayal. Claire wore gray. It felt appropriate. Throughout the ceremony, she kept seeing Sophie's face. Disappointed, hurt, betrayed. "Are you sure?" the justice of the peace asked, sensing their hesitation. They weren't. But they said, "I do anyway," because turning back felt impossible. They'd already crossed every line. Might as well make it permanent. That night, in their new apartment, they couldn't stay in Ethan's place where Sophie had lived. They sat in silence. Not celebrating. Not happy. Just exhausted. We did it, Ethan said flatly. Yeah, Claire replied. We married each other over Sophie's grave. We're officially the worst people alive. Do you regret it? Ethan asked. Claire considered lying. But they'd built this relationship on brutal honesty. No, I love you, but I'll never stop feeling like I stole you from her. The guilt manifested physically. Claire started seeing Sophie everywhere. Her reflection in mirrors, her silhouette in crowds, her face in dreams that felt like accusations. Not supernatural, just psychological haunting. Grief and guilt creating ghosts. She'd wake up panicking. We're sleeping in each other's arms while she's rotting in the ground. What have we done? Ethan couldn't comfort her because he felt it too. They'd built their marriage on Sophie's absence, and her presence, in memory, in guilt, in the space between them, was suffocating. Their fights always circled back to her. You're only with me because Sophie died, Claire would scream during arguments. If she were alive, you'd never have looked at me twice. That's not fair, Ethan would protest. But was it untrue? They'd never know. The hypothetical where Sophie lived was one where they weren't together. Claire stopped sleeping. Would lie awake constructing scenarios where Sophie discovered the betrayal, the hurt in her eyes, the questions Claire could never answer. How could you? You were my best friend, my person, and you took him the second I was gone. Therapy helped marginally. Their therapist said, "You're experiencing complicated grief mixed with relationship guilt. It's understandable, but you're allowed to love each other, even in these circumstances." But were they? Or were they just two selfish people who prioritized their feelings over honoring their dead best friend/fiancé? The answer felt like both. And living in that moral gray was destroying them slowly. Claire found Sophie's journal while unpacking the last box of her things. She almost didn't open it. Reading a dead person's private thoughts felt like another violation. But she did. And on a page dated 3 months before the accident, she found this. I think Claire is in love with Ethan. I've known for a while but pretended not to see it. The way she looks at him when she thinks I'm not watching. It breaks my heart, not because I'm angry, but because I know she'd never act on it. She loves me too much, and that makes me love her more. Sometimes I fantasize about something happening to me, and them finding each other. They'd be good together. Better than Ethan and I are, if I'm honest. He's wonderful, but something's missing. I wonder if that something is Claire. Claire read it 3 times, then called Ethan over. They sat in stunned silence. Sophie had known, had seen it, had, in some way, given permission, at least in hypothetical. Does this make it okay? Claire whispered. Does this absolve us? I don't know, Ethan said. She also wrote she loved me, that she was excited to marry me. This doesn't erase that we got together months after she died. But it shifted something. The guilt didn't disappear, but gained context. Sophie had seen the connection between them, had imagined them together. In some alternate universe, maybe she would have understood. Claire kept reading. Found another entry. If something happens to me, I hope the people I love find each other. Life's too short to waste on guilt or should-haves. I want them happy, even if it's without me. It felt like permission from beyond the grave. Or maybe they were just desperate to interpret it that way. On the first anniversary of Sophie's death, Claire and Ethan visited her grave together for the first time as a married couple. They'd been separately before, too ashamed to go together. But today felt different, necessary, final. Claire brought Sophie's journal. I don't know if you can hear me, she said aloud, but I found this, and I need you to know I didn't plan this. I never wanted to hurt you. I loved you. I still love you. And I love him. I don't know how to reconcile those truths. Ethan added, you deserved the wedding, the life, everything. What happened to you was unfair. And what we did afterward, I can't justify it. But Sophie, I think we've punished ourselves enough. I think you'd want us to forgive ourselves. At least, I hope you would. A voice behind them. She would. Sophie's mother stood there, older, tired, sad. I've been angry at you both. Felt betrayed. But I read her journal too. Claire, you left it at my house. And I realized Sophie would hate seeing you torture yourselves like this. She stepped forward. I don't fully understand it. Don't know if I ever will. You married so fast after her death. It still feels wrong. But my daughter loved you both. And she wrote that she wanted the people she loved to be happy. So I'm trying to honor that. It wasn't complete forgiveness. But it was a start. Sophie's mother hugged Claire for the first time since the funeral. Be happy, she whispered. Make her death mean something by living fully. That's what she would want. 2 years after marrying, Claire and Ethan finally exhaled. The guilt didn't disappear, they didn't want it to. Kept them honest, kept Sophie present. But it no longer consumed them. They transformed it into something productive. A scholarship fund in Sophie's name, volunteering with grief counseling, helping others navigate loss. Claire got pregnant. The news brought complicated emotions. Joy mixed with sadness that Sophie would never meet their child. They decided to use Sophie as a middle name if they had a girl. Not to replace her, but to honor her. To acknowledge that this child existed because Sophie didn't, and that truth deserved recognition. Do you think she'd be happy for us? Claire asked one evening, hand on her growing belly. Ethan looked at Sophie's photo on their mantle. They kept it there always. I think she'd be annoyed it took us this long to forgive ourselves. Sophie didn't do guilt. She believed in living fully, loving hard, and not wasting time on what-ifs. I miss her every day, Claire said. And I love you every day. Both things are true. Both things can be true, Ethan agreed. We can honor her memory while building our life. That's not betrayal. That's survival. That's choosing life after death. Their daughter was born in spring, Emma Sophie. At the hospital, Sophie's mother held the baby and cried. She has Sophie's nose, she said. Then, looking at Claire and Ethan, thank you for making something beautiful from something tragic. For proving that love doesn't end with death. It transforms. Claire wrote in her journal that night, the way Sophie once had, to my best friend, I married your fiancé. I'm raising a child with him. I'm happy, and I finally believe you'd want this for us. The guilt will always be there. Some betrayals can't be erased. But we've learned that guilt and love can coexist. That honoring you means living fully, not dying alongside you. That the worst thing we ever did led to the most honest love either of us has known. I hope that's enough. I hope you're at peace. I hope we finally are too. Outside, the sun broke through clouds. And for the first time since Sophie's death, it didn't feel like a betrayal to be happy. If this story gutted you, hit that like button and subscribe to Intro Love Stories for more morally complex love stories that don't have easy answers. Comment below. Could you forgive your best friend for this? Is this love or ultimate betrayal? Let's discuss honestly. Feel the emotion. Live the story. See you in the next one. Broken Heart Balance Scale Sparkles.